Hi, this is Jill.
And this is Caryn.
And you are listening to Scream Girl Squad. Hey everybody. So we're going to tell you about this movie we just saw called, what's it called, Caryn?
Ready or Not.
Hey, you didn't call it the wrong name.
Well, so when the opening credits were rolling and it was about to say the name of the movie, my brain kept trying to convince me it was called Hide and Seek, like, again and again and again. But I sternly corrected myself.
Yes, which for those of you who have listened to our bonus episode, she also tried to do with Truth or Dare. So I think that means Caryn really likes hide and seek.
Well, we watch a lot of movies that are like noun or verb or verb. This is a Scream Girl Squad first, because typically Jill and I watch the movie on my couch and then talk about it right after. But today we put on our big adult pants and we went to the movie theater, which was awesome.
Yes, we did.
So I was a little teensy bit nervous because I hadn't seen a horror movie in the theater since before my breakout seizure. So I was kind of a little nervous about like stress levels, and there's always a certain level of anxiety, like, oh my gosh, what if we're in the theater and this is when I have my next seizure, which would suck.
Not gonna lie to you, it also gave me a level of anxiety because I was like, please don't have a seizure next to me. Because I can only imagine how terrifying that would be. Yeah. I've actually, in all our years of friendship, never seen you have a seizure, and I would like to keep it that way.
Me too. I think that's a good goal for us both to strive for.
I'm good with that.
But all was well. I did do some precautionary steps, like I took a super attractive sleeping eye mask and wore it on my forehead so I could yank it down in case anything was flashy. Which
she looked amazing.
Oh, yeah. If anyone can rock an eye mask on their forehead.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But honestly, this movie didn't... Like, I hid my face a couple times because of gore, but there weren't any flashing sequences, so I think this one's pretty safe for photosensitive folks. You can go to the theater and enjoy this one happily.
For sure.
Yeah. Should we give a quick spoiler-free synopsis?
Sure.
So, the movie follows Grace and Alex, who are a young couple who, at the beginning of a film, are just barely getting married. And Alex's family has a super creepy tradition where on your wedding night, instead of consummating your marriage like you're supposed to, you play a game with the family. And the game could be checkers, or it could be parcheesi, or croquet, or whatever.
It's chosen by chance.
Yeah, chosen totally by chance. But if the game is hide and seek, they play it with a super deadly twist. And as the preview says, they play it to kill the new member of the family, because if they don't successfully kill that new member of the family, something bad will happen. So
I think we should just jump right in.
I know,
because after the movie we went and got burritos. We've sat here, we've been trying to talk about other things and not talk about this movie, and it's real hard.
Yeah.
So let's
should we talk about the cast real quick before we get into spoilers?
Oh, sure.
Because they had a great cast.
Oh, amazing cast. So the main girl, the bride, Grace, was played by Samara Weaving, who some horror fans may recognize from the Netflix movie The Babysitter.
Which was so good.
Also one of those hilarious yet tense movies.
And she's from Australia, so... Oh, she is Hugo Weaving's niece.
Okay.
So that's awesome.
Good to know.
Her uncle, if you're not a huge Hugo Weaving fan, you should be, because he's amazing in everything. He's,
Lord Elrond.
He's Lord Elrond from Lord of the Rings. He's Mr. Smith, or Agent Smith in the Matrix movies. He's in Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, which is so good. Anyway.
Which we watched about the time The Matrix came out. Yeah. And so everyone else was like, oh my gosh, he's so cool. And I'm like, yeah, but have you seen him in a dress? So that was a good time.
Nobody looks better in lipstick than Hugo Weaving. So his niece, Samara, totally kick-ass. She is amazing in this movie.
Seriously incredible.
And the way that she looks in costume, like in the wedding dress, running around playing the game, is so spectacularly good. And Salt Lake City FanX, our version of Comic-Con, is going to be in like 2 weeks. And I better see some people cosplaying as her there. I'll be really disappointed. Please. If you're there and you're dressed up like Grace from Ready or Not, come by the Horror Writers table. I'll totally give you a free book, because that would be heroic.
Seriously, that would be amazing. And then her husband is played by someone named Mark O'Brien. I'm going to be honest, I'm not terribly familiar with him, but it looks like he's been in a few things lately.
Yeah, so...
like Arrival.
And if you watched Halt and Catch Fire, which it's funny because in the previews for this movie, we saw a preview for the new Terminator movie. And the new Terminator movie has Mackenzie Davis in it, who's also in Halt and Catch Fire. So right before the movie started, I was telling Jill she needs to watch Halt and Catch Fire.
Yeah.
So he plays Tom in seasons 2 onward in Halt and Catch Fire.
And then his brother Daniel was played by someone I've been in love with since I was like 17, Adam Brody, a.k.a. Seth Cohen from the OC, which Caryn apparently has no idea what that's about. How is she my generation? She's a failure.
Watch it.
You're the worst.
I watched the one they filmed here. I watched Everwood. Does that count?
No.
But that one had Chris Pratt in it.
Don't care. We watched that together.
I recognized Adam Brody more from a small role he had on Shazam.
Yeah. Well, and Adam Brody's great, and he's always great, and he was great in this. So, no questions there. And then Henry Czerny? I don't know how you do the CZ thing. It's really...
Is it a ch sound? Like Czechoslovakia?
Czerny, maybe?
Henry Czerny?
Who is from the first Mission Impossible film. So, that's pretty great. And Clear and Present Danger. He was in Sharp Objects, if any of you watched that recently.
Did you watch that?
I did. Because I read the book.
Oh.
And then I had to watch the movie.
Oh, gotcha.
Or the miniseries.
It looked like a bummer.
It was a bummer.
Oh, okay.
Don't do it.
Yeah, Henry Czerny plays Kittredge in the Mission Impossible movies.
Yes.
Which, well, I guess one Mission... I don't remember if Kittredge was in any more, but the first one.
I feel like he's just in the first one.
Maybe, like, possibly the second one.
The mom is played by Andie MacDowell.
Yes, so cute.
So, she is just America's sweetheart. And, you know, from Groundhog Day, 4 Weddings and a Funeral. Mm-hmm. And then apparently this movie, which is not that at all. So that was fun.
So Elise Levesque, she played a character named Charity. And when they first showed her on screen for like a millisecond, I thought that she was, she just barely directed Booksmart. Olivia Wilde. I thought she was Olivia Wilde for like a minute. But she's not. She's her own person. And she's been on Orphan Black, in an episode of DC's Legends of Tomorrow.
The originals. She's made her way around the TV Stargate universe.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's been around, and she plays a character who's married to Daniel, aka Seth Cohen. So.
Mm-hmm. Oh, when you said Seth Cohen earlier, I thought you were talking about an actor.
No.
So that's his character on the OC.
Yes.
Okay, I get it.
He's like, he would fall in love with this guy. He's like the sarcastic nerd who reads comic books and just wants to play video games.
Well, if he's played by Adam Brody, then I'm already all in.
Exactly.
And would it be weird for a 35-year-old woman to start watching the OC?
No.
I have a yearly rewatch all the time. I will watch it with you.
Okay, I would love to watch it with you, because I don't think I would have liked Gilmore Girls if I hadn't watched it with you.
Deal.
So,
not gonna lie to you, I've never finished those. I watched the first 2 seasons like 20 times.
All right.
I've never but we can watch. We'll see how far we get.
All right.
One of these days, I feel like I need to finish it.
Okay. I'll help you get there. I helped you get to the end of Strange Brew.
Exactly. We can do it.
Awesome. So yeah, all the way around, great cast. I thought the directing was really solid too, but I don't really recognize either of the directors, Tyler Gillette and Matt Bettinelli-Open.
Yeah, I'm not great with directors, so that's all you.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really recognize either of them, because I guess I didn't see VHS, which they did together as well.
Oh, I did. It was weird. It's one of those found footage movies.
Which I think we've talked about before. I like as long as the reason for it being found footage makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
And this one, I feel like it did, because it was like they find tapes and they start watching them, and then creepy things happen on the tapes.
Oh, cool.
In real life. But it was meh.
Not nearly as good as Ready or Not?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes. Just a reminder that we rate the movies based on enjoyment factor, using our favorite candy because we enjoy candy and snacks. Because...
Say the word, Jill.
What?
Say what we are.
I forget.
Oh.
What?
You call us munch mouths all the time.
Munch mouths! We are munch mouths. I forgot my own term. We are munch mouths who like to eat.
Yeah.
And food makes us... Caryn's like one of those people that needs to feed people. And we've been friends forever. So food is what holds us together.
It's true. Food is definitely one of my love languages. I have way too much Basque grandma in me.
Yep.
I get a little uncomfortable if someone comes over and I don't have anything to offer them.
One of her favorite movie quotes is from Rudolph, where Mrs. Claus says, "Eat, Papa, eat," because that is her life.
Poor skinny Santa, though. He needed to eat.
It's true. It's true. So anyway, we base our enjoyment factor out of 5 of whatever treat we decide we need to consume whilst watching the movie. And then we base fright factor based on something in the movie.
Yes.
So, based on this movie, we ate popcorn.
Oh my gosh. So much popcorn.
Let's do handfuls of popcorn.
Oh, see,
you don't just eat a kernel
bucket of popcorn, but...
Well, we didn't eat the whole bucket.
You can't eat the whole bucket. It's impossible. The bucket is gigantic.
Lies.
Oh.
Michelle has eaten a whole bucket.
That's true. Kelly did that one time, too. When we saw the new Tomb Raider movie, he did eat the entire bucket, and he turned to me at the end and he said, "I don't know whether to be ashamed or proud."
You be proud, Kelly. I'm proud of you. So yeah, handfuls of popcorn. Or buckets. We can say buckets.
I think buckets are a much more striking image of enjoyment.
Sure. Buckets of popcorn. And then fear level.
Murderous in-laws.
Murderous in-laws. That works. Yeah.
Which is a fear that I think we all secretly have.
Oh, for sure.
You never know if you're going to marry into some family who's just nuts. I think I got very lucky.
Lucky for me, I'm still single.
Jill still gets to roll those dice.
Yes, she does.
So, Jill, out of 5 buckets of popcorn, how much did you enjoy Ready or Not?
I'm gonna lie to you, 5.
Oh, heck yeah.
I freaking love this movie.
It was so good.
Like, Caryn and I have been excited for this since we first saw, like, a teaser of this movie. And I have this problem where, like, I can't build things up too much in my head because then I will hate it.
Yeah.
And I was so worried I had built this one up too much in my head. I did not.
Yeah. I had the exact same concerns because I've made that mistake countless times before.
Yep.
And once you start building up those expectations, it's so hard to lower them. But holy crap, this lived up to... And I don't want to accidentally build up too much. I don't think I could. I don't think I could build up
It was just really great.
Yeah, it really, really was. And we'll get into it more deeply in the spoiler section. But overall, I think it's spoiler-free to say that the reason that this movie worked so incredibly well was because of the emotions that they brought into it. Like, you felt all of them.
Yep.
And all of the emotions felt totally authentic, too.
Yep.
Yeah. So, how about fright factor?
I wasn't ever, like, afraid. But it was tense. So, maybe, like, 3?
Yeah, 3 out of 5 murderous in-laws.
Yeah.
Fright factor. Yeah, it's kind of tough to rate this one because,
there were no, like, jump scares. I'm totally going to sleep fine. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like, I was definitely, like, squeezing my fists at points or, you know, like, on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, they did a really good job with the tension. So I think 3 out of 5. Well, yeah, 3 out of 5.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not going to keep you up.
Yeah. And they definitely, like, broke the tension enough.
Oh, yeah.
That it wasn't like, you know, you're sitting there like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? For a really long time. Like, something would come in and break you out of that. And then you'd be like, oh, okay, well, I'm good.
Yeah, they did that really, really well. Like, they employed humor at all the perfect moments. And I feel pretty confident that the emotions that we felt, whether we were, like, laughing or we were squeezing the sides of our seats because we were nervous or whatever, like, they did all of that on purpose. We didn't have to wonder if they were being funny accidentally or not.
Agreed. Yeah, it was absolutely on purpose and done masterfully. Yeah. So, yeah.
Loved it. Bottom line, totally go see this movie.
Absolutely.
Like, I would see it again. That's how much I liked it.
Absolutely. Lots of gore. Mm-hmm. Lots of language. Just if you're trying to decide whether or not to see this movie.
Yeah.
Those are things that you will endure. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not definitely. That it was bad. It fit. It was just no.
Yeah.
It's really gory.
Be an informed consumer.
And they swear like sailors on leave.
Yeah. Which you would.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It totally fit. It wasn't like, what is up with the potty mouth? Like, it totally fit. Yeah.
Yes. So great cast. Really well done. Let's go ahead and dive into spoilers so we can talk about all the wonderful ways it was well done. Yay! Spoilers.
Okay, let's dive right in. Should we start at the beginning and go?
Yeah, let's do it.
See how much we can remember because I didn't get to take notes.
Yeah, usually Jill and I have little notebooks at our sides and we'll shake our heads and make a note if it's a bad movie.
Which we probably could have taken notebooks because we were alone on our row in the movie theater, but I didn't want to be that person.
Yeah, well, and was it just me or was the movie theater unusually well lit too?
It did seem a little...
They left the wall sconces on a little bit. Yeah. I totally appreciated that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we went to go see it on a $5 Tuesday, which here in Utah, usually $5 Tuesdays are nuts. Like, every theater is packed.
Yeah.
Who's not going to pay $5? But we went at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, which... Pro tip, that's the time to go to leave work, go straight for the theater, get dinner after.
Seriously.
So yeah, we didn't take our usual notes, but that's okay because this movie was super memorable.
Yeah, I'm just hoping I can remember the sequence because I tend to jump around in my head, as you can tell by our conversations. So, it started out with like kids frantically running through this super ornate house.
Yeah, picture like the house from the Catherine Zeta-Jones version of Haunting of Hill House.
But with less creepy carvings.
Yeah, no walls. Little demon angel babies.
Yeah. But just really, you know, everything was made out of wood and shiny and beautiful. And there are these 2 little boys just like running in a panic. And the older, darker-haired boy grabs his brother and puts him in the cupboard and is like, stay in there and be quiet. Mm-hmm. And then a guy in a suit comes running up and he's like, the brother says, he's over here. And then the guy gets captured.
Yeah, he runs up to the kid and he's like, help me. He's got like a crossbow bolt sticking out of his stomach.
Yeah.
And the kid just rats him out.
Yeah.
And they drag him away behind creepy carved, like, wooden doors that have the family name Le Domus on them.
Yep. And then that's it.
Yeah.
That's all the explanation you get for why that's happening. But you can already tell there's some shady situation happening here. Mm-hmm. So then it flashes to our bride, who is sitting getting ready for her wedding day. Smoking a cigarette? Yeah. And
she's explaining her vows.
Yeah, like explaining about how she loves her husband and how she's excited to marry him. And then he pops his head in and he's like, who, me? Or some such other ridiculousness. And then they're really cute together and talk about how excited they are to get married and how much they love each other and all that sickeningly cute stuff. So
And he gives her an out. He's like, if you don't want to do this, now is your moment to back out of this. You don't have to marry into my insane family that's obviously incredibly rich and crazy.
Yeah. And she's like, are you kidding me? I'm all in, baby.
Yeah.
And then his brother, a.k.a. Adam Brody, shows up and is like, okay, buddy, time to come with me. We got to do this. And they go get married, right?
Yeah, pretty much they get real to the wedding real quick.
Yeah. Well, I think first they go take pictures.
Oh, yeah. So they go take super awkward pictures.
Super awkward pictures. So, like, there's an aunt who just sits in the corner glaring the whole time. She looks like Satan.
She looks like one of those crazy birds, like those white birds. I don't know what they're called, like cockatoos or something, but people keep them as pets, and they have lots of white feathers, and their feathers kind of stick up in the back.
Yeah.
That's how they did her hair. And she's just, like, sitting in a chair and glaring at Grace like Grace is the worst thing she's ever seen in her life.
Yeah, and she takes a picture with Daniel, the brother, and Daniel's like, don't worry, she hates everybody, or something.
Wasn't that when he says that awesome line?
Yeah. And he says the awesome line, like, they just want to make sure you're not a gold-digging whore. You know, like my wife. So then they take a bunch of awkward family pictures. She has a moment with the mom, and the mom's like, I really like you, and I'm so excited for you to be part of the family, basically.
Yeah. So she sort of smooths over some of Grace's fears, because Grace is worried that they do think she's a gold digger and that she doesn't belong in this rich family. And so Andie MacDowell, the mom, is like, oh, don't worry, it doesn't matter that your blood's not as blue as theirs. That's what they said about me, and I'm fine. So they have this kind of nice little bonding moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she gets married, and it's all great and happy. Cut to her and her husband in the bedroom, and start making out, and she's ready to consummate the crap out of this wedding. And then all of a sudden, creepy aunt is just staring at them from the corner and scares them both. And then he's like, sorry, that's my aunt. She has boundary issues. And
it's crazy bird aunt.
Yeah. Because really, she's just standing there watching him make out for a while before she says anything. And then she's like, it's time to come downstairs. That's when Alex has to explain to Grace, hey, BT dubs, when you marry into this family, you have to go down at midnight on your wedding night and play a game. Hope that's okay. And she's like, what kind of game? And he's like, you know, Parcheesi or checkers.
Yeah.
And she's like, all right, I'm awesome at checkers. Let's go. Like, if that's weird, but whatever. Like, this is what it takes for your family to accept me. I'll do it. So, they go downstairs. Oh, and he's like, meet me downstairs in the music room. And she's like, sure, that's a normal thing that people have in a house. So, she goes downstairs and the whole family's there. And Adam Brody is drinking like there's no tomorrow. And everybody else is like, come in, sit down. We're going to tell you this weird story.
Yeah. Oh, and they take her through the same weird, like, carved wooden doors that they dragged the dude through at the beginning of the movie.
Yes.
And they say, like, this is family only in this space.
Yeah. And there's, like, weapons all over the walls and, like, paintings of hunters.
Yeah,
and
some dude who's, like, just killed a tiger or something.
Yeah. And so, no pictures of that, luckily. Just a painting, which was, you know, disturbing in itself. But read the room. You know, it's fine. Like, we know what we're here for. So, they sit down, and the dad pulls out this really ornate box and tells this tale about how his great-great-grandfather basically made a deal with this dude on a boat.
Yeah.
I don't understand why.
Like that they were on a really long boat journey together, his great-grandpa and this dude named Mr. LaBelle.
Yeah.
And Mr. LaBelle was someone who, like, dealt in exotic things.
Yeah.
And they pretty clearly lay out that Mr. LaBelle is obviously some type of crossroads demon and that he wheels and deals in people's souls and makes stuff happen. And they owe all their success to Mr. LaBelle.
And that his grandfather promised that anyone who joined the family would have to play this game. And Mr. LaBelle picks the game, so they put a blank card into this box, and then a game pops out.
Yeah.
And they have to play it, whatever the game is.
Yeah, which I almost took as kind of like that Mr. LaBelle knows what a threat to the family would be, maybe. So, like, maybe if Mr. LaBelle assesses that somebody isn't a good fit to be part of this brood of psychotic rich people who owe their success to a demon, then he would pick the bad card, hide and seek, so that they would have to play that game. But if he thinks that they're maybe, like, easily swayed or whatever, then maybe he would pick a lesser game and just let them be part of the family.
Interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
That's possible. So, yeah, she draws out hide and seek. And her husband's face looks completely horrified. And he grabs her and he's like, meet me upstairs in my bedroom. And she's like, whatever, it's fine. Like, it's totally fine. And he's like, it's not fine. And so she picks hide and seek, and the dad tells her, we'll count to 100, and then we'll come find you. And she's like, well, what happens if you find me? And he's like, I don't know, whatever. Kind of brushes it off, and he's like, you just have to stay hidden until sunrise. No big deal. And she's like, what in the kind of game? Anyway, so she goes off to hide, and the dad immediately starts handing out weapons.
Oh, yes. Which is such a good sequence because they put on this super creepy record.
Oh, my gosh. This super creepy record where they sing a song about hide and seek. Like, it's like, I can't even pretend to sing this song, but it is the creepiest hide and seek song.
Yeah. Like, if anyone has played, gosh, I can never remember the name of this game. It's Cuphead and... Anyway, the Cuphead games, the kind of vibe of this song is definitely like that old tiny music from like the black and white bouncy cartoons of Steamboat Mickey era, but it's a super creepy song about like it's time to play hide and seek, and it counts down, and it's really happy and upbeat. And as they're playing this super happy upbeat song, they're handing out like antique weapons, like an old crossbow, a composite bow, and an old shotgun, and some weirdly small revolver. And the dad has just this enormous grin on his face. Like, you can tell he's pretty dang excited that they get to hunt down and kill their brand new daughter-in-law.
Yeah. Like, they have no problem with it. They're like, let's go to town.
Yeah.
But then the crazy aunt gets this huge axe that's taller than she is. Because that's cool.
Yeah.
Because they say later in the movie that they use the same weapons that their great-great-grandpa would have used.
Yeah.
So they're all, like, old.
It's very traditional.
Yes. They're all about tradition in this family.
Yeah.
So they go off and try to find her. So she goes off and she hides in the dumbwaiter. And then gets bored.
Like, immediately.
Like... attention span of a gnat. Like, they're counting to 100. That's not even like 2 minutes, and she is done. She doesn't want to hide in the dumbwaiter anymore. So she gets out, and there's 3 maids.
Yes, there's like 3 maids
and a butler,
and
then the family.
Yeah, and the butler, he turns off all of the cameras in the house, so the security system gets shut down.
And locks down the house.
Yeah, windows, doors, everything's locked. And the dad explains to Grace, oh yeah, we do everything the way that our great-grandfather would have done, so there's no, like, technological advantage here.
Yeah.
And then the 3 maids are watching the children and doing maid things.
Yes. So one of the maids is watching the children. One of the children, she's reading him a story, she turns around and he's not in bed. So she's like, where did he go? I'm gonna go find him. And, starts walking around calling his name. So Grace sees her and hides, and then immediately gets grabbed with a hand over her mouth. And that part makes you jump a little. So that was a good, what's happening?
Yeah.
But it's her husband, Alex. And he pulls her in and makes her hide with him behind the bed because the maid's coming in. The maid comes in and almost finds him, but then turns around because somebody else comes in the room. And it's the sister, and she blows the maid's head off.
Yes.
Like, blown off.
Like a chunk of her skull is missing.
Yeah. Like, blood everywhere. So Grace is freaking out because she still doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And then people come in and they're like, what did you do? That's not her. And she's like, I thought it was her. And they're like, she's wearing a huge white wedding dress. How did you think this was her? You know?
Yeah.
And so Grace is getting more and more freaked out because she realizes now, oh crap, they're trying to kill me.
Yeah.
And the whole time her husband's just like, shh, be quiet. Or they'll find you, you know? And she's like, what is happening? Adam Brody and the dad drag the dead body out. And it, like, is the most awkward. I think the little old aunt helps.
Yeah.
And they try to drag the dead body out. And it's this whole, like, if you were actually trying to lift a dead body, like, they're all waddling and, like, can't carry the body properly.
They have to flip a coin to see who gets the head.
Yeah, who gets head, who gets tails.
Which I love that they have a system for that.
Right. Like, they already have a body disposal system set. They know what to do and where to put those bodies.
Yes.
So they drag the girl out of the room, and Grace and her husband try to hide or try to get out, and he has like secret passages all over in his house. So they try to go in the secret passage, and the sister comes back in, so they have to like hide again. And the sister just does a handful of coke. We can't even say like a line of coke.
No.
Like,
so much more than a bump. It was like enormous amounts all over her face.
It was all over her face.
Like a Scarface level
and
of cocaine.
She was just like, woo, let's go. I'm a winner. Like, totally pumping herself up. And you just like, after that tense scene of like, oh crap, they're trying to kill her. Like, laugh hysterically because of the comically huge amount of coke that this girl just did. This is only like the first of several hits of drugs that this girl does.
Yeah.
How she is walking around at the end of this movie, I will never know. But spoiler alert, she makes it. So the sister leaves, they go in the secret passage, and then they're arguing, and the husband's like, I'm gonna get you out of here. I love you. I'm so sorry. And he says the most like dick thing where he's like, you're the one who wanted to get married. And she's like, you didn't tell me what would happen if we got married. So.
And then there's this, like, not weirdly, just, like, powerful emotional scene where he's like, if I didn't propose to you, you would have left me. And to me, it was worth this risk because I love you so much.
And, like, maybe I wasn't going to lose you. Like,
yeah.
Why did you have to pick this card? Even though she had no control over it. But he was like, either way, there was a chance I was going to lose you. Like, marry you or not marry you. And so this way I at least get to marry you and maybe we get to live happily ever after.
Yeah. And then he explains that this isn't the only part of the tradition. Like, he had no choice but to marry her at the family estate, and she had to pick the card. And he explains that if he had married her some way else or had refused to let her pick a card, they would both have been dead the next day through, like, mysterious and magical circumstances.
Yeah. And then he's like, it's happened. It happened to, like, he names off family members that it happened to.
Yeah.
So, like, this is a thing. This is a real thing. But she's like, you could have at least, like, prepared me, told me this was going to happen. And he's just like, but then you wouldn't have married me.
Yeah.
So it's like a lose-lose situation. Yeah, but I think it's cute that he just wants to marry her anyway.
Yeah, and then the music swelled, and it was this, like, weirdly poignant scene.
Yeah.
It was very well done.
It's kind of a bonding moment.
Yeah.
So he's like, listen, I'm going to unlock the house. I have to get into the, like, control room, and then you go to the kitchen, and I'll meet you there. Splitting up is always a good idea. So he goes off one direction, she goes off the other direction. He does not give her very good direction. So she gets to the end of the hallway, and there's 2 doors. And she has to choose. And she, of course, chooses the wrong door.
Yeah.
So, in, like, an amazing moment, the bunch of the family's, like, standing in the hallway arguing. And she opens the door, and they all just, like, turn around and see her. And she runs off.
Yeah.
And then, is that when she ends up in the...
Well, so she, sees them, turns to run, and Cocaine's sister is standing there with her ridiculously small but large caliber gun, and she just, starts firing shots off wildly, nowhere near close to hitting Grace, so Grace manages to, bump past her, and the dad's screaming at his cocaine daughter, come on, aim for the center of gravity.
Yes. And she's so coked out. There's no way she could fire a gun straight.
No.
And then I think it shows her, off doing more drugs.
Yeah, she's, pouring pills out of a bottle in her mouth, basically.
Yeah. So Grace runs off. She hides in a room.
Yeah, she runs into some room, and Adam Brody walks in and kind of ignores her for a second and just pours himself a glass of whiskey and is like, I'm gonna have to tell them that you're here, and I don't want to, but I have to.
He's like, I have to.
Yeah.
But I'll give you a head start.
Yeah.
I'll count to 10.
Yeah.
So you should probably go.
And he's counting all slow. He calls for his family, oh, she's in the study or whatever. And they all converge in there and are angry that he's let her go. And Cocaine's sister is like, oh no, I lost my gun, so I need a new weapon.
That's right.
And her husband hands over his crossbow because he can't figure out how to use it. And she immediately, within an instant, shoots the maid,
through the eye.
Maid. Through the mouth, I think.
Oh, maybe the mouth.
Straight through her open mouth. And the maid drops, and everyone's all upset that the maid is dead.
And the maid is, gurgling.
It's so
in the corner. She is not dead. She's just oh.
They're, trying to hatch a plan. And
you can just, every time they go to talk, she's oh. So the aunt just goes over with her huge old axe and chops the maid's head off. And she's just what?
And it's so well done. Us and the few other people in the theater were laughing so hard.
It was really great.
And I think at that moment she runs back into the game room / music room, I guess, and grabs a shotgun and a super sweet, what do they call those things?
I wish I knew.
A bandolier?
Sure.
Is that what they're called?
I have no idea. The big thing, we've all seen it in Westerns, where they have just a sash of bullets.
Yeah, Rambo has one.
Yeah.
So
pretty sure the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, they all sport them. So
she slings that over her rad wedding dress.
Takes this huge double-barreled shotgun.
Yeah.
And she's like, bring it on.
Yeah.
Well, and when she's running in the hidden passageway before, her dress keeps getting caught on crap because it's a wedding dress. So she sits down and just tears off, the bottom 6 inches of her dress.
Yeah. And she's wearing Converse high tops.
Yeah, her husband had given her Converse high tops and was like, you need shoes, put your shoes on. It's so...
She just looks like a badass with her bullets and her dress.
Her dress is all torn and then her awesome worn-in tennis shoes.
Yeah.
So then she goes to the kitchen.
She finally makes it to the place where she was supposed to be in the first place,
yes.
The servant's kitchen.
And she is waiting for the door to unlock. I think she's trying to decide if she can shoot the door and open it. So I think she's contemplating that when the butler walks in.
She tries to shoot the door and the gun doesn't fire because it's not loaded. She was in such a hurry she forgot to actually put any bullets in the shotgun.
Right. So nothing happens. So then the butler walks in and she hides behind the kitchen counter. Velociraptors in the kitchen style. And as he's walking around the kitchen island, she, scurries to different places and hides from him. And she's trying to load her gun, but he keeps hearing the gun noises because you can't load a gun quietly. And he starts singing opera really loudly, which then enables her to load her double-barreled shotgun. And for some reason, he doesn't hear her over his ridiculously loud operatic singing.
Yeah.
So, she stands up, she's pointing this big old shotgun in his face. And he's kind of like, what? What are you gonna do? And she pulls the trigger and nothing happens again.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, those bullets are just for show. like, did you really think we were going to leave ammunition on the wall? And she's like, dang it.
Well, and her answer is, let me hit you in the face with a teapot full of boiling hot water.
Which works.
Yes, totally.
So...
And while she was loading the shotgun, her husband had managed to get to the security room, and he was able to turn on all of the security cameras so he could see her. And then he was able to...
He was, like, cheering her on as she was fighting the butler.
Alex is able to turn on all the cameras so he can see what Grace is doing, and he unlocks the doors and the windows. And that all kind of happens while she's having an altercation with the butler. Mm-hmm. And Alex's dad and brother bash in the door to the control room. So he takes the fire extinguisher and, like, breaks the computer so that they can't use the cameras against Grace either.
Yeah.
And they knock him out and handcuff him to his bed in his bedroom so that he can't help Grace anymore.
Yeah. And so then Grace runs upstairs. I think maybe the butler falls in front of the door, so she can't get out of the kitchen. Mm-hmm. So she runs upstairs into the dumbwaiter again. And there's a maid in there. And she's, like, crying. And she's like, what's happening? Everyone's going crazy. I only work here because somebody likes the way she dances.
The dad.
And so she's freaking out, and the bride's like, well... they're not after you. Like, you're fine. No reason to be scared. And she's like, oh, okay. She's over here. And, like, yells. And so then she tries to hide back in the dumbwaiter because the bride's pissed and starts pummeling her a little bit, I think. And she pushes the button thinking she'll just go in the dumbwaiter and go downstairs and get squashed.
Yeah, her body is half in, half out, and the dumbwaiter doors, like,
just
crush her.
So then it cuts back to the bedroom where the brother's handcuffed to the bed.
Yeah,
or
where
the
her husband is.
Yeah. And the whole family goes in there. Or not the whole family. The mom.
Yeah, definitely the dad and the mom and the aunt are in there.
Oh, this is when they're handcuffing him to the bed. And they talk about how, oh, we thought he was going to lead this family. Like, he's the only one who saw... Mr. whatever his name is in his chair. His chair.
When he was like 5 years old.
This was some sort of vision of prophecy of him leading the family.
Yeah.
And so they're like, we really thought that he would do what it takes to take care of this family or whatever. And Grace is outside the window, like standing on a ledge listening to this whole conversation. And she's like, what the crap is wrong with this family? So then... the amazing brother-in-law is downstairs, and he's on his phone, and his buddy just texts him, like, hey, what's up? And he's like, oh, nothing, just some family crap, or whatever. And, like, I really was trying so hard to remember, but, like, above the hey, man, how's it going? It said something like, butterscotch sergeant, or something like it was some sort of nickname.
I think they were talking about strains of weed.
Oh, okay.
I think, like, because later he's talking to his wife who's all amped up, like, oh, after she, like, shot that maid through the face, he's like, come on, let's get you some edibles, even you out. So...
yes, because that's what she needs. More drugs.
The whole family dynamic was so perfect because when they're not being completely inept at killing this newcomer, they are at each other's throats constantly. Like, everyone hates each other, including some of the spouses.
Yeah. But for some reason, take care of each other.
Yeah. Like, if you remove the whole, we got rich from making a deal with the devil and we kill people all the time, like, it's totally this relatable family.
Yeah. It was... yeah, real weird. The brothers just love each other.
Yeah,
and it's real cute.
Yeah.
Lots of brotherly love happening. So, so she decides to jump from the ledge, like, down into the lawn. And he's just, like, texting. And behind him, you just see this white, like, thump. And he, like, turns and looks. Nothing. Goes back to his phone. And you see her, like, stand up behind him and run away. And it was so beautiful.
Yeah. It was really well done.
Yeah.
So she runs into, like, a little barn that's just full of goats.
Yeah.
Which was weird. Like, the number of goats was strange.
So many goats.
But I guess makes sense since they are, like, wheeling and dealing with the devil. Like,
yeah.
Of course they have goats, I guess.
Now it makes sense.
Yeah.
Because they talk about a little later that they do rituals and sacrifice goats.
Yeah, like you do.
Like normal. So yeah, there's all these goats, and she's hiding in the barn, and someone with a flashlight comes, and so she sees the flashlight, and she's found by the little boy that the maid was looking for earlier.
Yeah.
Georgie.
Of course his name is Georgie.
And so she's like, Georgie, oh my gosh, you scared me. And he's like, shoots her. He pulls out the teeny tiny gun and shoots her through the hand.
Oh, and it leaves this huge, like, death becomes her open hole in her hand.
Oh,
yeah.
It just looked so painful. So she's, like, screaming and freaking out and hits the kid.
Just clocks him.
And just knocks him right out. And then immediately trips and falls into the storm cellar, right? Isn't that what it's called? Where the two wooden doors open up. Falls into the wooden doors storm cellar and lands on a big old pile of bones and guts and
some
decaying
some people
bodies. Yeah. Immediately throws up. And then decides, okay, I gotta get out of here and this 7th level of hell. So she starts trying to climb up the ladder, but she, like, with one hand.
Yes.
Because her other hand has a hole in it. And the ladder's all rickety and clearly decaying. People don't come out of that hole. They just get thrown into the hole, right?
And as she's climbing, they keep showing you that at the top of the ladder, there's, like, a piece of wood that's been nailed to the lip of the storm cellar, like, doors, I guess, that has this big rusty nail sticking out of it a couple of inches.
Yeah, like it was only half hammered into this piece of wood.
And they keep showing it to you, so you totally know what's coming.
So the ladder just disintegrates and falls apart, and she's hanging there with her one bloody covered hand slipping, because how is she gonna not slip with all this blood? So her whole hand with a hole in it, not entire hand, she throws up top and the nail goes into the hole in her hand. Ugh. And then she's able to climb out whilst screaming bloody murder, because how could you not? And those screams felt so authentic. Like, it just made me cringe. I just couldn't even... It was... Yeah.
She did an incredible job. The emotion was too real.
Yeah.
I literally couldn't watch that part because
it's
so gross.
It was pretty excellent. So she gets herself out of the hole and runs away. Mm-hmm. And just runs for the gates.
Yeah. Like, and then the sister-in-law, the one that, like, was earlier described as a money-grubbing whore, I guess.
Yeah.
So she's standing on top of a balcony smoking a cigarette and just keeping watch, and she gets all excited because she sees Grace running away, and she's like, oh, I got you this time, and raises whatever it is. Like, it kind of looked like a rifle.
I think it's a gun.
But when she raises it and fires, it fires, like, really...
It could have been another crossbow.
Yeah, I'm not sure, honestly, because it fired so slowly. Like, the projectile it shot was slow and flew in an arc.
Dart gun.
Yeah. Oh, maybe. Totally misses Grace. Like, to the point where Grace doesn't even know she's been shot at.
Yeah. And she's just like, dang it.
Yeah.
And then tells everyone she's running across the lawn towards the north gate or whatever. So they send the butler out after her, because heaven forbid they leave the house.
Yeah, I guess.
They were incapable of leaving. Yeah.
The butler totally volunteers, too.
That's true.
Because I think he's got a score to settle.
Yeah.
With the whole you threw a teapot in my face thing.
Anybody else think of James Franco? You just hit me with a coffee pot. What happened to your face, man? You look like the Hamburglar.
Well, I am now.
Anyway.
So she manages to make it to the gate, which is like a typical old wrought iron gate with a whole bunch of those spiky things sticking on top, and she's trying to climb it, and I was like, oh my god, she's going to do that horrible hand. But she didn't. She couldn't climb over the fence. But what she was able to do was get one of the rods loose and break it off so she could squeeze out between two of the slats, or I don't know what you call the wooden version of a slat. So she's squeezing out between this tiny part of the fence, and like one of the ornamental designs is scraping across her back and like opening her skin. It looked so painful and so real.
It was like a deep gash.
Yeah.
And it was just like, she just toughed through it because she's like, I gotta get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
So she just pulls herself through this gate, gets this huge gash across her back, and there's a car coming. And so she's like, I have to do this fast, and I have to flag down this car. And she flags down the car, or she tries to flag down the car, and they're just like, nope, and keep driving.
They scream, get out of the road!
Yeah.
And the stream of profanity that, like, explodes out of her mouth.
So, like, every cuss you could ever think of comes out of her mouth. And on the one hand, she curses like, rich people.
Yes. Because the guy's driving, like, some fancy
It's like
car.
Yeah. Super nice Audi or something.
And you're like, keep it down, Grace. They're after you. But then you're also like, yeah, that
you scream those profanities. Yeah. So then she sees a car coming from the house, which is the butler. So she runs into the woods. And the butler's just like, she ran into the woods, but don't worry, I'll find her. Like, he's taking way too much pleasure in this. And goes and hunts her down in the woods.
And she's not great at hiding.
No. So he finds her.
Pretty quick.
And...
so he finds her, and he's, like, chasing her down in the car.
Oh, yeah.
And gets out, and he's got, like, a gun, and they're wrestling for it. And she manages to get a piece of her...
She rips off the sash of her dress and strangles him with it.
And you're just like, yes! That is amazing.
That's so freaking amazing. And she gets in the car and drives away, and he sits up.
Yeah.
Because he's not dead in the slightest.
She couldn't finish him.
No.
And then, so while she's driving away in their fancy car, she pushes, like, the OnStar button.
This is the best part.
And she gets a hold of Justin, who works for, like, their fictional alternative to OnStar.
And he's got customer service voice. He's very... Hi, this is Justin. How may I help you?
Yeah. I'm going to be upbeat and perky no matter what you say to me.
And she's like... Oh my gosh, Justin, call the police. They're trying to kill me. And he's like, hang on a second. Let me look into that for you. And then he's like, oh, actually, this car was reported stolen. So I have to shut it down now. And she's like, what is the matter with you? Call the police. And he's like, nope.
She starts cussing him out, and he's totally like, well, there's no need for profanity, man.
Yeah. And then he shuts the car down, so she's just sitting there in a dead car, and she's just like, dang it, Justin. And he's like, anything else I can help you with today? And she's just like, no, you're useless.
She cusses him out some more.
Yes.
It's pretty dang relatable.
Freaking amazing that he just, total customer service voice, is like, no, actually, I'm not going to call the police. I'm going to make the car stop.
So she's sitting there, and she's like talking to herself, like, don't worry, the cops are coming, you're gonna be fine. And instead the butler shows up, elbows in the window, and shoots her with a tranquilizer dart. Yes.
Which is just incredible.
Yeah.
So she's unconscious in the backseat of the car. And he, like, is video chatting with the family, and he's like, I got her, I'm coming back, it's amazing. And they're like, great. So he blasts his opera music like he does.
Yeah.
And just starts singing at the top of his lungs, all victoriously.
Well, and I think it's the same song as in V for Vendetta that V plays when he's, like, blowing stuff up, Parliament? Like the 1812 Overture. I think it's the same song.
Could be.
And so it's all, like, super victorious, and he's, like, kind of dancing and blaring music and, like, pretending to be conducting an orchestra.
And the whole time the family's, like, on the phone watching him, and she sits up in the back seat and is just like, nope, and kicks him in the face, like, a couple of times. And the whole time the family's like yelling, behind you! But he can't hear him because the music's so loud. So she just starts kicking him in the face and he crashes the car.
Which is a super well done scene too, because that song is still playing and the car is like
slow-mo crashing and rolling and everybody lands upside down and
really beautiful shot.
So incredible. So she drops out and crawls out of the car. And here comes Adam Brody, who points a gun at her. Mm-hmm. And he's just like, she's trying to, like, help me, Daniel. Like, please, your brother loves you so much. Please do this for him. And he's like, nope, sorry, I don't want to die when the sun comes up, which is the deal. That if they don't kill her, their whole family will die.
Yeah.
So it's like, kill or be killed.
Yep. And they don't explain how the family will die. The dad at one point mentions some other rich family who the whole family died. And they're like, well, their house burned down. And he's like, oh, well, you don't want to know how they really died.
Yeah.
So it's just all very mysterious and unknown.
And I think the family still is like, we're just going on faith here that something might happen to us. Mm-hmm. So he's like, yeah, I can't take that chance. If it's you or me, I pick me, you know?
Yeah.
And he hits her with the butt of his gun and she gets knocked out. And then the dad shows up and he says like, you can come out now. And he's like, how did you know I was here? And he's like, I'm drunk. I'm not blind. Yeah.
Which made me laugh because I'm like, you're clearly blind drunk. Like you've been blind drunk this entire film.
Yeah. So they drag her in the house, strap her to a table with a pentagram on it, and start doing a devil ritual.
Yes, with like hoods and all kinds
of stuff.
You know, all the accoutrements.
They're like, we have to do the ritual before sunrise. And they start doing this ritual. And the whole time the brother's upstairs with his handcuffs trying to like saw the
her
wooden
husband's
bed
still
apart.
trying to get free to be able to help her. And they are passing around like a goblet full of wine and chanting in Latin and just being very culty about the whole thing.
And as soon as they all take a drink of wine, they all start spitting out blood.
Yeah.
Right as they're about to say, Hail Satan, they all start spitting out blood. And it becomes clear that Adam Brody poisoned everybody. Mm-hmm. And so they're all like, what's wrong with you? You know, like they're all mad at him and he like helps her escape and they run out into the hallway. And she's like, I can't believe you did that. And he's like, well, they're not going to die. They're just going to have really bad gastrointestinal issues. How did he say?
I think he said they're going to poop weird for a week.
Yeah.
But other than that, they'll be fine.
Yeah. But like they were spitting up blood. Like, how is that fine?
And the dad said the name of whatever poison he used, and it definitely had a scary word in it, like cyanide or something in it. Like there was definitely like a death word. Anyway.
But whatever.
What do I know?
They're not dying from this. So his wife comes out with a gun and like tries to point it at the bride, and he steps in between them. Mm-hmm. And she's like, really? You would really just let me die?
Yeah.
And shoots him.
Yep. Poor, adorable Adam Brody.
Right in his neck.
Yeah.
Blood's spurting everywhere.
Yeah.
The bride runs again.
What happens to Charity at that point?
I don't know.
Yeah. I can't remember exactly what happens to Charity there.
She shoots him and then what? Maybe
does the bride attack her?
She might attack her and knock her out?
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
We'll go with that. So then bride runs in the other room and then the dad finds her.
Yeah.
And is like, hey, we gotta finish this.
Yeah.
And they start scuffling a little.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, husband gets free and comes down the stairs and finds his brother dying.
Yes. Which is another really emotional scene.
Yes. And the whole time, like, you're a little torn. Like, who am I rooting for here?
Yeah.
Like,
well, you're definitely...
You want the bride to go, but, like, at the same time, you want the family to figure out it's okay and stop trying to kill her. Because you kind of like the family.
Some of the characters definitely felt worthy of redemption. Like, up until the, like the mom for most of the film, you're like, you know what? She just wants what's best for her kids, you know?
Yeah.
And the crazy coked up sister, like, she's trying to protect her kids. She's like, well, but do my sons deserve to die, you know?
Right.
So, you're definitely hoping for some redemption for some of these family members.
Yes.
Not for the dad, though.
Well, and Adam Brody says this amazing thing where he's like, I think it's about time for somebody to burn this place to the ground. He's just like, I just never thought it would be me.
Yeah.
But then he's doing it anyway.
Yeah.
So, because he clearly figures out that it's wrong.
Yeah, so while the brother Daniel is, like, dying in Alex's arms, the bride and the dad are scuffling, and she beats the holy hell out of him with a lantern, which is pretty cool.
It's really cool, yeah. And then the mom comes in, and she beats the mom with the box. The mom tries to strangle her.
With the little card
mystical box. Yeah.
Yeah.
She beats the mom to death with it.
Yeah, oof. Like a
caved
stop, he's
skull.
already dead. That's like the level of beating her face in.
Yes, but she's just like, enough of you people!
Yeah.
And just pummels her.
Then her husband
comes in, and he tries to, like, embrace her, and she backs away. Because, let's be honest, this was the worst night of her entire life, and it's all his fault and his crazy family. So he puts his hands on her face and is like, you won't be with me after this, will you? And she's just looking at him like, how? How can we get past this? You know? And he just starts squeezing her face, and she's like, stop, you're hurting me. And he
screams for his family. She's in here, and he's restraining her, and they tie her back up and put her back on the pentagram thing again. Mm-hmm. And this time, whereas before it was the dad holding the sacrificial knife, now Alex is holding it. Alex is going to kill her himself.
Mm-hmm. So he's like, hail Satan, and
right at the moment when he's bringing down the knife, Grace manages to shift just enough that he stabs her in the shoulder instead of in the heart.
I think she bites. They don't tie her down. They're holding her down.
Yeah.
And I think she bites the crazy ant.
Yes.
And so she lets go a little. So she moves. So she only gets stabbed in the shoulder instead of the heart. And then she breaks free.
Yes. Grabs the knife and is, like, hiding in the corner.
Like, holding the knife. Like, come at me.
Yeah.
Come at me, bro. I got this.
And then the family realizes that dawn is breaking. And the aunt, like, throws open the curtains, and I expect...
And it's like in a vampire show. They throw open the curtains, and everybody's like, no! And, like, puts their hands in front of their faces, and you're, like, looking around like, is this it? What's gonna happen?
Yeah.
And then nothing happens. And they're all like, wait, are we okay? Is everything fine?
And it dawns on them, oh, nothing is happening. Maybe we
were crazy.
Yeah, maybe nobody did have to die.
Yeah. Maybe we didn't have to do all these crazy rituals for years. And they're kind of standing there like, oh, we feel dumb. Like, kind of laughing about it.
Then, like, the kind of incompetent brother-in-law, the one that couldn't figure out the crossbow, he's like, well, what do we do with her now, though? Like, obviously we have to do something with this woman that we just spent the entire night trying to kill.
Covered in blood. Yeah.
And the crazy bird aunt is like, well... like, regardless of what's going on right now, she has to die, and she raises that absurd axe.
That's right.
And explodes.
That's right. Explodes in the way of, like...
an over-microwaved burrito.
Yes. Kablowie.
Yep.
Like, bits of her are falling from the ceiling.
So much blood.
So much blood. So many gooey bits of flesh. So then, one by one, the family all just explodes.
And it's pretty dang satisfying.
And hilarious. Like...
oh, especially...
the whole theater was just laughing.
Especially for some reason when the sister, the coked up sister, grabs her kids and, like, runs out of the room.
Gosh. So you don't see the kids explode, but they run out of the room and you just hear this, like, poof, poof, poof.
And all this blood flies backwards into the drawing room where they'd been. It was perfectly hilarious.
So funny.
So the only unexploded member of the family now is Alex.
Yes.
And he looks totally manic.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, but no, I'm different. Like, I got away from the family and I found you and you changed me. You made me better. And now Mr. LeBain's giving me a second chance and we're going to be okay.
And she's just standing there and she takes off her ring and she goes, Alex, I want a divorce. And throws it at him and he explodes. And it was so beautiful. It's like the ring just flies through debris of exploded husband. And then in the most magical, amazing, she starts walking out of the house. At some point, when she was fighting the dad, she knocked over a lantern, she hit him with it, and the curtains caught on fire. So the house is burning to the ground, and she walks out while Love Me Tender, some cover of Love Me Tender is playing. That was the most amazing cover I've ever heard in my life, and I'm going to have to download it. But she walks out of the house while Love Me Tender is playing, sits down on the stairs while the house is burning down behind her, and lights a cigarette.
Yep.
And you hear, like, the cops come up and the fire department, whatever, and they're like, we've got somebody here. There's somebody here. And they're like, Miss, are you okay? And she just takes a puff of her cigarette. And they're like, what happened? And she's like, effing in-laws. Roll credits.
Such a perfect ending to the film.
Such a perfect ending. And she is just, like, covered in blood and, like, dirt and grime and, like, you see her and you're like, she's seen some stuff. Like, she's had a rough night. And so she's just sitting there puffing away on her cigarette, totally calm.
It's awesome, too, because at the beginning of the movie, they set her up as, like, being this pretty playful person. Like, she's very funny. You can tell she's generally, like, a happy person. Mm-hmm. And then the events of this one night totally and believably turn her into this complete, like, hard-ass. Like, like, she's not gonna take nothing from nobody.
Nope. And it was like, at the beginning of the movie, she was, like, worried they wouldn't like her because she's too nice and she's, like, too polite. And no, not a problem anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love her. She's awesome.
Seriously. So cool. Yeah. Amazing film. And I highly recommend it to everyone who does not get squeamish, because people do explode.
Yeah. Well, and I'm pretty dang squeamish. We talked about this in Pet Sematary, where there's, like, certain body stuff that just is too real for me. And that business with her hollow hand and, like, the nail. So.
But I think the rest of it was, like, realistic enough.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it was, like, too gory that you were just like, well, that's just funny.
Especially the exploding bodies at the end. Like,
yes. It was just funny.
But honestly, like, if I had been expecting a movie on the level of maybe, like, Tucker and Dale versus Evil meets, like, the lightheartedness of Tag. For some reason, the preview put an expectation of those two movies in my head. And this was so much more than that, because, like, you totally related with the characters, even the worst of them. Even Charity was a little bit relatable, the kind of evil sister that married into the family, and she was all gung-ho about killing the bride, and she's the money grubber and everything. Mm-hmm. She even explains at one point, like, you know what I came from and how little I had before, and I'd rather die than give up the life that I have now. So even she's a little bit relatable because of, like, you know, we all want to protect what we have.
Right.
So they just did such an incredible job with all the characters and making you want them to somehow end up being okay. Like, like, I wouldn't have been disappointed at the end if they had all just been wrong and like ashamed of themselves. But it was just excellent.
It really was just really well done. And you just cared about everyone. You were really engaged in the whole movie. Like, I was never bored. I was never like, all right, move it along. Like, it was just golden from start to finish.
Yeah.
So, yes, highly recommend this movie. Go watch it and report back to us. We would love to hear what you think about it. So,
definitely.
Let us know.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. This is Scream Girl Squad.
Scream Girl Squad!